Mesdames et messieurs, merci de prendre place car la séquence d'introduction va bientôt commencer. Merci beaucoup.
Je peux encore passer devant là? Oui. Allez. Profite alors.
My dear Victoire, I think I can state that we need to prepare to a big round of applause for the coming of the President Macron. I had the privilege to be side by side by President Macron for the 9 years behind us. This is not the end. This is a start of a new era, which is absolutely fantastic. Mr. President Macron coming on stage. Thank you for a big, big round of applause.
Mesdames et Messieurs, le Président de la République.
Bien, mesdames, messieurs les ministres, mesdames, messieurs, en vos grades et qualités, chers amis, je vais dire juste quelques mots. I say just a few words in French and I will switch in English. Je voulais d'abord vous remercier l'ensemble des investisseurs, des chefs d'entreprise, des ministres, toutes les équipes des pouvoirs publics qui sont là. Et vraiment, je voulais dire un très grand merci aux équipes qui ont permis ces réalisations, les équipes évidemment de Bercy, de la DGE, l'ensemble des services, celles de Business France aussi, de la BPI, toutes les équipes des cabinets, l'écosystème français, et remercier évidemment nos administrations et les entreprises françaises qui sont là, qui permettent aussi de convaincre les partenaires étrangers d'investir chez nous. Et cette édition est importante parce qu'elle acte 93 milliards d'euros d'investissement dans notre pays, ce qui est massif. C'est des dizaines de milliers d'emplois à la clé. C'est évidemment beaucoup d'IA, de data center, avec, je dirais, deux acteurs massifs que sont SoftBank et que sont Mubadala et MGX, qui ont fait de très gros investissements. I will switch into English, so I will revert, but I mention you. Et derrière aussi beaucoup d'investissements, de l'acier, en passant par l'électrification de machines-outils, etc., etc. Ceci vient, au fond, consolider les 9 dernières années d'efforts où on a réalisé 87 milliards d'euros d'investissements confirmés, délivrés, avec là aussi des dizaines de milliers d'emplois qui ont été créés et qui est le fruit du travail collectif. C'est le fruit des réformes, de la constance, d'un écosystème qu'on a su bâtir. Et donc je voulais vous en remercier collectivement en même temps que je voulais annoncer ou plutôt confirmer ces bonnes nouvelles. Voilà, donc merci à tous. Now I will switch into English, and I really wanted to thank you for being here. And I know that you come from the rest of the world, and this is, for some of you, this is the 9th time. I think, Jimmy, it should be the case. You were here at the very beginning, Lakshmi as well, and some of you. For some of us, this is the first one, Maza, but you took the right decision. and confirmed 45 billion investment. And Mark as well, 2 billion announced, so it's great. And I really want to thank you for your presence, your commitment, and the hard work being made in order to be here all together. During the past few years, we consolidated this pro-business environment. And I want to thank all of you for that, because this is, for me, this permanent challenge between, the French ecosystem, our universities, our research, our local authorities, our companies, SMEs and large caps, and the global investors and startups coming from Asia, US, Latin America, the Gulf region, etc. During the past few years, we confirmed 87 billion investment. Today, we announced 93 billion euro investments. $45 billion coming from SoftBank investment, and thank you for that. On data center, but as well as this partnership with Schneider, and more to come, because you announced your willingness to invest 75 billion. And as well, we follow up with Mubadala MJX on the big investment made and announced last year, and we are on track. But a lot of you were here to confirm and announce, from the battery sector to the mining and rare earth minerals, for the whole value chain, key investments today. And I'm very grateful to all of you. So now I just want to revert on where we are and what we have to improve collectively in order to do more. Because I'm not just attached to announcements. I'm attached to implementation, execution, and make sure that we make it real and we change the face of this country and the continent. I think during the past few years, and this is the main driver of these new moves, we managed to build collectively a pro-business environment. We took very early a lot of reforms on labor laws, and the best evidence of that is that nobody speaks in my bilats about labor issues. I can tell you that 9 years, everybody raised these issues. Lack of flexibility, etc., etc. So labor laws. Second, taxation on capital gains, on a lot of issues, to allow as well to facilitate green investment, to facilitate R&D. I would say the same. Third, energy. And this is the result of the big investments made during the past few years. Because energy, we had a big advantage historically, nuclear. But we invested a lot during the past decade, first to reorganize the value chain in France. And I want really to comment all the key players from EDF, Framatome, Orano, but as well with the CEA and all the family of the French nuclear. You did a great job during the past decade. And we reinvest to modernize precisely the existing instrument, which makes, by the way, that in 2022, at the beginning of the Russian war of aggression against Ukraine, we were importing electricity. Because we were not at the max, we were using 60% of our capacities. After this investment we did improve, today we export, and we exported in 25 and in 24, more than 90 terawatt hours electricity. We are by far the biggest exporter of electricity in Europe, which provides us the capacity to invest in data center and in a lot of projects without making suffer our households and our companies. This is a huge advantage of the French ecosystem. Available, decarbonized energy. And on top of that, 95% of this energy, of this electricity, is already decarbonized. We are investing on additional capacities to close the cycle and modernize it, but as well to build 6 + 8 new reactors. And it's already on track. This is the investment for the decades to come, but this is just to illustrate to all of you the fact that this advantage is for a long run. And if you take cost and competitiveness, looking at the gross market and the key prices, Last Friday, it was 60 euro per megawatt hour for France, 90 for Germany, more than 105 for Italy, thanks to that. So we are super competitive in terms of energy at a moment where this is clearly one of the hottest topics. Talents. We do train a lot of talents. We invested on education and higher education. We have the strengths of our universities and research centers. We improved the quality of the ecosystem and the synergies, and I think Paris-Saclay is the best evidence of that, as now we have the unity of the sites and we train more and more. And we launched a series of programs with France 2030 on our universities to train more and more people on the key verticals for our innovations. Data scientists, mathematicians, competences in green tech, etc., etc. So we are training a lot of talents, and it's part of the AI and quantum strategy, and we are providing a lot of talents. And now the core of our strategy is to attract other talents, what we developed with share of excellence and new programs for our innovation ecosystem. But we were used to export a lot of our talents in Silicon Valley or elsewhere. Now we keep more and more, precisely because we have all this innovation ecosystem. I would add to that that precisely we managed during the past few years to build a stronger ecosystem in the key innovative sectors. AI, quantum, green tech, with long-run strategies, with a lot of investments, with permanent adjustments. And we refreshed these two strategies, especially AI and quantum, during the past few weeks to have even more speed and more strength. Now, we have to focus on few additional issues. And I would say for the French level, it's speed, scale, and simplification. So simplification, we are passing a series of laws in order to reduce the complexity of precisely our current regulation and to streamline in all possible sectors the existing rules. And so we just passed a regulation on AI data centers in order to accelerate the process. We passed a regulation in order to simplify. So we are working very hard to simplify. Scale, we make sure that the day you invest in France, you have access to the whole European market, and I will revert on that. And speed. Speed. And it is very important. And I want to tell you, too many people believe in Europe we are still very slow. I don't want to take it for granted, but we are improving, and we did improve. I was a few days ago, close to Châteaudun, in a factory opened by Vorwerk. Our German friends should be around. And they announced in 22, 23, 24, 25 new investments. But they decided and announced a new factory here in 22. It was open and up to speed 2 years later. 2 years. We took the commitment, we delivered. Because we adopted what we call the Notre Dame approach and Notre Dame strategy. We managed to completely restore and reopen Notre Dame in 5 years, as we committed. This is what we do for business and industrial projects. We parallelize all the procedures. We streamline everything. You have one single interlocutor for your investment, and we accelerate like crazy. And this is what we will do on a lot of data centers projects, but this is what we want to do on a lot of industrial projects. So we will keep on accelerating. You can count on me, because it's much better. We are first in class in Europe, but when I compare with the rest of the world, we can do even better. But you can be sure that for simplification, scale, and speed, you can count on us. And each time we commit, we deliver. Now, we will work on that at the national scale, and this is the core of our strategy, and I don't want to be too long, so I will answer your question. It will be much more efficient. At the European scale, what is at stake and what we want to do? It's quite easy. We want to increase the European competitiveness by some critical actions. First, simplification as well. I know that a lot of you are disturbed more than that, even but it started with some omnibus, and the Vice President knows that perfectly, and we worked very well together. But simplification is to be accelerated as well. We have to get rid of some existing simplification, stop additional ones in a lot of sectors, just in order not to create our own problem. Too many times in Europe, we had self-inflicted issues, if I may say. And we have to resynchronize with the rest of the world. And each time, we created a difference. Each time we killed ourselves, our competitiveness, we have to restore that. Simplification. Second, the deepening of the single market. Our objective is that when you invest in one of the sectors, in France or Italy and Germany, you invest in Europe. And you have access to a 400 million inhabitants market. And the most attractive one. And each time we improve, we deepen the single market, we improve the attractiveness of the whole Europe. And one of the top priorities in this agenda is obviously deepening the digital single market and building a capital market union. And we did progress last week at the ministers' level with a strong agreement for capital market union. And we will accelerate, and this is the core of the objective of the Franco-German tandem with all the key partners. So, top priority. Third, protection. And I just want to make clear about this issue. When you go to US or Canada, you have protection as a US player or Canadian player, and you are not treated as a French player. When you go to China or you are Chinese, on the Chinese market, you are not exactly treated, with all due respect, as a French player, which is normal. But we want all those having invested and being part of the French and the European ecosystem to be protected against unfair competition. We want European preference. So we do endorse safeguard clause when we have unfair competition coming from the rest of the world, as exactly China and NAFTA did. We want European preference to be implemented, and we started to do so on the car industry. We will develop this approach. Why? Because this is the only way to make the European footprint attractive. I want, when you decide to invest in lithium-ion battery in France, in Douai, to make sure that European car makers will favor your battery as a European battery. I want the same for your steel when it's produced in Europe, because it's part of the European footprint. Everybody is doing the same, just Europe was too naive. So European preference is part of our strategy. Otherwise, we will be literally destroyed in some critical sectors by unfair competition. And last point is about investment. At the European scale, we do promote more investment, public and private. Private, this is what we are doing today. This is what we want to do with Capital Market Union. Public, this is what we want to do by an increase of the European budget on the key innovative sectors. AI, quantum, space, especially green tech as well. So here are the top priorities of the EU. In a very specific context, and probably we will revert on it during the Q&A, but a geopolitical context which makes even clearer that working for more sovereignty and more independence is our duty as policymakers. Which doesn't mean that we want to close our markets and we want autarcia. No. We just want to reduce over-dependencies. And this is the DNA of this approach. More innovation, more investment, but de-risking regarding our over-dependencies, because we want to de-risk ourselves vis-à-vis the destabilization of geopolitics. And there is one asset of the Europeans I want to flag for all of you. Predictability. We want to improve the competitiveness with speed, deepening of the single market, investment, European preference. But something you should never underestimate with Europe and France. We are extremely predictable. None of us can change the rule overnight. There is no executive order in Europe, and not a single person could change everything on his own decision. But I think for all of you, it's super important. For some of you, on the short run, you can say, that's a pity because I would prefer to, I know you, so I want you to take an executive order. Okay, fine, it's good as long as we know each other, you are my friend. But it's never good. Predictability and rule of law are part of the stability and the attractiveness of mature markets. And in geopolitics, we are the same. We are predictable. One last word about some verticals. I will not elaborate anymore, but on space. We have a strong European space footprint and space industry. We want to do much more. Probably you were much more and highlighted, and you had a much more interesting discussion with the two former speakers here, and I want to thank Thomas and Arnaud for that. And by the way, both of them will be part of very great projects, and so we are very proud to have these two astronauts. Thomas as commander of a mission to the International Space Station, and Arnaud will be among the very first crew of Heaven 1. So it's you can applaud them. But I want to flag that Europe has a lot of assets when we speak about space. We produce launchers. We have launching sites, Kourou. We have satellites. We have new space in all different categories and all the innovations. We have services. We have today the single low orbit constellation, the LEO constellation, which is neither US nor Chinese, is OneWeb, a Telsat. And we have obviously our autonomous access to space with Ariane 6. So you have a whole range of innovation, and you have very mature players and newcomers in these sectors. This is why I just want to flag for you the fact that the 9th and the 10th of December, we will have a space summit in Paris, where we will make new announcements and gather the whole industry and a lot of investors in order to go further and precisely to have common program alongside our key partner, obviously ESA, and our key partners in the sector. This is the first point I wanted to highlight in terms of verticals. Second, AI and data centers. We made a lot of announcements. During our AI summit in February 25, we announced 109 billion euro investment, and we are delivering. I mean, we will double down thanks to the investment and the announcement made by SoftBank today. But we have our good friends already who started to do so. I want to insist on the fact that we want to strengthen the value chain. We had a lot of very important discussion today, but we can speak about civilian and military activities. But clearly our top priority is obviously to secure much more computing capacities in France. And we are by far number one in Europe now. But we want as well to have more chips producers, service companies, and we want to go upstream in the value chain to reduce our dependency and create much more value. And we want as well to have much more robotics company, AI services, LLM companies like Mistral and some others. So we want to build computing capacities, obviously, because the whole Europe was lagging behind. But we want to use these computing capacities for our champions to develop as well AI capacities in robotics and different sectors to make sure that we are part of it and we create the maximum added value here. Same in Quantum, we just refresh a new strategy, European and French ones. And last, a bit of culture. As we are in front of the Versailles Castle, we also invest at the same time in this sector, in the tourism sector, and a lot of you, by the way, confirmed investment in tourism or heritage. We have a lot of protected historical monuments, and we want you to diversify, etc. But culture is part as well of our attractiveness. And I want just to mention for you that on September 7 this year, we will have, and we will co-chair with Korea, the Moving Image Summit in France for the first time, which will allow us to accelerate in terms of investment in cinema, but in cultural and creative industry in order precisely to allow our key players to do much more and to increase attractiveness of France. I don't want to be longer. Here were the key elements I wanted to mention for you. But let me thank you for your trust, for your commitment for our country. This is clearly for us a very important rendezvous. I want to thank once again all the French companies being here. I know how they cherish this rendezvous and the importance of all the discussions they have with all of you. I want all of you to be sure that we are committed to this agenda. And everything you signed here, everything which was announced during these days, for this session as the former ones, will be executed and delivered on time. Because this is why we are increasing year after year, just because this is not just one single rendezvous, but a whole process with a lot of commitment, and because I'm here, and myself, I put my credibility in front of you on the table with the ministers, the administration, and the companies. So we are here, we will deliver. I count on you, and thank you. Choose France.
Hello, everybody. Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan Chase. Mr. President, just so you know, we did choose France when we started talking about moving our capital markets operations from the UK. Paris wasn't even on the list. It was Amsterdam, Frankfurt, Madrid, etc. But you sent a team of people to go through exactly